And welcome. How are you, everybody? We are back with another installment of It's Gonna Get Artsy. My name is Gus Ferrari, your favorite other host, which is the one that does most of the talking, Julia Genoveva. She is not here because she is directing a play and she's up to her eyeballs in work and meetings. So you're stuck with my mug today. And I am here with the cast and crew of the show. Mr. Michael Toomey, tell us what the name of the show is.
It's called Mad, Mad, Mad.
Mad, 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 exactly. And we're here to talk about the show. We're gonna talk to the whole cast. So why don't you guys go ahead and introduce yourselves, starting with Michael, and just take turns. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Michael Francis Toomey. I'm the director and one of the creators for Mad, Mad, Mad.
Hi, my name is Alexandra. I'm a deviser and producer of Mad, Mad, Mad. I also play Colonel Meowski in the show.
Hi, my name is Fernando Zermeno Garavito. I play Cliff and Nuki, deviser, producer, and very excited to be here.
Great.
Hiya, my name is Rosie. I'm a deviser and producer, and I play Meryl in the show.
Welcome.
Hi, my name is Peter Julian Lane. I am a deviser and a producer, and I play Glitch, and I play Stanislav Petrov in the show.
Very good.
Hello, my name is Jon-Mykul Bowen. I'm a deviser and an actor within the production, and I am playing the role of Andreas Pina.
Hi, I'm Evie McIntosh. I am a deviser and an actor, and I play Flip Wilson.
Two to go.
Hi, I'm Alexa Lostaunau. I'm also a deviser and another clown by the name of Ballsy.
Hello.
Okay.
Oh, sure, my bad.
Go ahead.
Hello, very last but not very least. My name is Chrystian Rosado. I am a deviser and an actor and a clown within this production of Mad, Mad, Mad. And my name within the play is Joaquin.
Very good. Okay, well, welcome all, and I can't wait to hear about this play. So right now I'm going to throw it to Michael, our director. So and tell us a little bit about what the show is about. Who the writer who came up with this concept. Go ahead.
So I mean, let's see.
It's a trick question.
Yeah, I mean, I guess the easiest way to start is about maybe about 7 years ago, I read an article about an incident from 1983, and I was about 8 when I was in 1983, or around there, and it was an article about a Soviet soldier who was credited with saving the entire planet from nuclear annihilation because he did nothing. He decided to do nothing. And the description of this guy just seemed like not anybody extraordinary, not a hero, just a regular guy. And nobody knows about this person, or at least I didn't, and very few people were talking about him. There's been kind of a resurgence about him because he recently passed away, but I got really fascinated with this idea that one person, by doing nothing, could save the whole planet. And it seemed very ridiculous to me, and it seemed very clown to me. One of my focuses as a creator and a performer is the world of clown, and in the world of creating new works. And this idea just kind of stuck with me for a while, until it seemed like the right moment. part of what was happening with, you know, over the last few years, where the conversation about what's going on with nukes kind of started to resurface in a way that I haven't seen since the 80s, when I was growing up, and the Cold War by some was considered at its height. And this story just kind of kept going in the background, or this image, and it was really an image of Stanislav, who is the soldier, sitting at his desk, like eating lunch, when all these alarms go off, and he realizes that, according to the instrumentation, the United States has launched nuclear missiles. And this, of course, is a false alarm, but nobody knows it at the time. And that image of him just kind of like looking at the screens while eating like a bologna sandwich or something just seemed really potent to me, and something that if I was a soldier, it seems really relatable to me, you know?
Yeah.
And so and it just stuck with that kind of image until I was in conversation with the folks at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. I work there as a teacher sometimes, and I direct there. And I was interested in doing a clown show with their company, which is their third year, what I would call their pre-professional training year, where they just do a lot of training and a lot of shows in a very short amount of time. And it's a really, I mean, it's a company full of actors who, yes, they're in training, but they're raring to go and like bust in to do some really great work. And so
go ahead.
Go ahead.
No, I'm curious if anybody has actual clown experience as a, you know, like training in the cast.
I was a corporeal mime for a while, which is a form of postmodern mime.
There you go.
And yes, in the mime world, there is some crossover. The clowns and the mimes, they don't always get along. There were some clownish workshops that were going on, unbeknownst to the mime teacher. And if the mime teacher had found out about it, oh man, it would have been bad. But he did not find out about it. So yeah, that was my experience with clown, which was mostly silent clown, although we do speaking clown.
Right.
And I also have taken a one other clown workshop before this.
Excellent. So Michael, first of all, I want to clarify. So this incident did happen? This guy was eating a bologna sandwich and the nuclear code, whatever?
I don't know if he was eating a bologna sandwich, but I know he was on the late shift.
Okay.
He was on the late shift, and yes, there was a fault. There was an alarm went off. He was at the somebody correct me about the position or what. Yes, Rosie, please.
He was the commander. Actually, fun fact, he was not supposed to be on shift that night. He was called in because the person who was supposed to be in command, I think, was ill. So he took the late shift, and he was the sitting commander at Serpukhov 15, which is the Soviet Union military base.
Mm-hmm.
And it's the
where is this is this on Google or something? Because I never heard of it. Now I'm like, really, I want to read about it.
There's so much. There's actually a lot nowadays. There's a lot. At the time that I came across this article, there was only like one or two of them, but now there's a couple of different documentaries about it. Somebody tried to make a movie about it. Didn't quite work. None of them quite worked. And there's, yeah, you can Google it and all of this information comes up. That was a part of our creation process, was the research of this event. but that's not like, it didn't just start with like one, because it was an early warning system. It started with one, and then as the evening went on, it was more and more and more like, and there was 20 minutes at least where they could decide, the Soviets could decide to respond or not. And he did, and normally his job was to call the people who would basically launch. And because of the pressures at the time, it was pretty clear that if he made that call, they would launch. And especially people looking back at the time were like, oh yeah, that was almost a certainty at that time. And because he didn't make that call, he decided on his own to not make it. There are some that credit him with saving the planet.
And which is a good thing, like, because I think Putin was in charge of something at that. It was like a low-level KGB, but he was around. So it's a good thing that he wasn't in charge.
But there were folks that were in alignment with that kind of thinking at that time. I mean, the pressures between Reagan and between those that were in charge of the Soviet Union, I mean, the pressures at that time, especially around the Star Wars system and, you know, and just the politics of it. Reagan, you know, announcing that there were an evil empire, and just the pressures of that pretty were really high. And some historians even compare it to more than like the Bay of Pigs or other points where pressures was really high.
So that happened, and it's really a cool story, you know. And so how do we go from there to in this clown concept that you got going on?
Well, because a lot of the work that I do is in clown, and a lot of the creations that I work either use clown as a starting off point to create larger pieces, or just straight up clown pieces. The American Academy has a lot of interest in that work that I do, and I know it's very popular with a lot of the students there, but it's not part of their 2-year initial training, and that they don't get it until company, which sometimes I teach that clowning for them. But I was interested in taking, because you can only go so far in a small amount of time in a training situation. It's not really for me until you get into creating and performing outside of the classroom that you actually really understand what clown can be, and what it is that this, you know, that people are responding to. So I made that proposal of, I would like to do a clown piece with them, a clown show with them, knowing full well that very few of them had ever had any clown training whatsoever. And then it was made with this idea that I have this image, I want to take that and combine it with, you know, the American 80s, that is the MTV, you know, shopping malls and Pepsi Cola and, you know, Cyndi Lauper, and see, you know, what happens when you combine those two stories together, and what do you get?
Which by the way, you know, I'm jealous that you were only 8 at the, you know, in 1983, when I was already, like, you know, recovering from all my partying and stuff. But the 80s were a little wild for me. Yeah, so that's really, you know, that is a great concept, you know, from this story with this, you know, what was he, like a grunt, right? Like the soldier, basically,
I mean, he was a commander. He was an officer. But, you know, I mean, I'm sure the impression that I have of his life and the life before, and the research that everybody, you know, found about his life, is that, you know, being an officer in the Soviet Union in the 80s was, you know, there wasn't a lot of perks to that in terms of, you know, what this guy was doing on a day-to-day basis. So he seemed really like middle management to me, in the same way that, you know, a lot of the folks, you know, my father was middle management at that time, you know, when I was growing up, and, you know, or, you know, so it seemed that this person seemed like someone who is very relatable to a lot of people, you know.
Gotcha. Yeah, and I actually, it kind of reminds me of all these, you know, James Bondian bad guys who are like, even if you're a general, and you know, James Bond is always outsmarts you, and you don't care about your job or your country or whatever, you know, or something like that. So it sounds like the guy was somebody like that kind of stereotype or whatever. So let me move on to other folks, because we got a lot of you, and I want to get to all of you. Since I have you on my screen right here, Rosie, tell me a little bit about yourself. You know, your character, your perspective on the show.
Sure. Hello, I'm Rosie. As far as myself, a very large part of my identity is theater, but I love that. So, yeah, I, like everyone here, I just graduated from the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, and I was a company member there, obviously, which is how I got involved in Mad, Mad, Mad. And I play Meryl in the show. Please stop me if I'm not answering your question, but essentially, because it's a devised piece and because it's clown, we sort of created our clowns based off of our own imbalances, which is something that I found really interesting about clown work in general. So Meryl kind of came into being because of the imbalances that exist within Rosie, which there are plenty. So Meryl is kind of, she's very bossy. That's not a good word. I don't know if people think she's bossy, but she just wants everything to be right. And she has a plan for everything, and she knows everything because she's done a lot of like work, and she's very anal about it, but she's also very emotional. And like towards the beginning, not towards the beginning, the first day of rehearsal, I was like a wreck. I don't even know what I was crying about. I think I was nervous, but I just cried so much every time I was in clown. And so, and people thought it was funny because I think I was because I wanted to get it right. And so when I felt myself maybe not doing what I thought was right, I would cry, and then my energy would go so high, and it would be funny. So I sort of discovered that Meryl, while she was very, very diligent and serious, she was also very emotional. So that's sort of a very brief description of her.
Kind of your journey into getting into the character,
Yes,
so to speak. Okay.
Yeah.
And by the way, are all the characters Russian, or this is all happening in Russia, or?
So so each of us kind of hold many spaces in the show. Each of us has one clown, except Peter and Fernando, who have two. But the way we kind of do it is with jackets. So the way the costume was designed, we each have a red army jacket, and the scenes that are in the Soviet Union, we put on that jacket, and we're just sort of the comrade version of our clowns. And then when we're in Danvers, which is the town that we've chosen to indicate 1980s America, we are our clowns without the jacket.
Themselves.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Excellent. So let me, going on the order of my screen, I got Chrystian. Tell us same thing. Tell us, you know, your perspective. There's no right or wrong answers. It's just about, you know, your perspective on the show, on your character, and so forth.
Okay, so let me tell you something though. As soon as we started on the show, I was the one guy that was standing in the corner as everybody was running around, and I was just there. I was drenched in sweat. My thoughts were all over the place because oh, guys, we're gonna do this. Okay, what are we doing? And I see everybody moving around, and I'm like, oh, okay, where do I go? Where am I going? So, because I've never done a device place before this one, so
Right.
I've always liked to be like very structural, because my life, as the life that I've lived, I mean, I've gone through whatever phases. I come from a very hardworking background. I have a son. I've been married. I've been divorced. Like I lived in a whole bunch of places. So everything in my life has always been I need everything planned. I need to know what's gonna happen 5 steps before it happens. So as far as the character development, yes, just like Rosie was saying, that's one thing that really hit home for me. They actually made me open up in a way that I don't usually open up. Because my character as Joaquin, he is one person that is he is pretty judgmental, but he keeps it to himself. He is very strong and very acute with whatever it is that he's thinking and whatever is going on through his head. And he is semi-composed on the outside. He likes for people to, try to catch up to whatever it is that he's thinking. He does usually see people as like, like if he talks, he believes that everybody's gonna understand him.
Mhm.
And that is something that I've always had in my life. That when I speak in a way that, oh, you don't understand me? Okay, I guess I'm gonna have to dumb it down. Okay, let's go ahead and keep going with it. But this project has, it's just a whole bunch of very, very different personalities all put together into one story that makes no sense whatsoever, but that's where we're here at today.
Just to do
We're like,
it.
yeah.
All right. So now I want to hear, thank you, Chrystian. Let me hear from JM, since you're up and you hooked us up with this interview, which I thank you so much, for introducing us to this awesome cast and bunch of people. Tell us about you.
Yes, I was on the last episode, so some of it is similar. I did move here, did the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, graduated company, and I played the role of Andreas. And throughout this whole process, Andreas is like a living cartoon in my mind. I grew up watching a lot of cartoons. I took a lot of inspiration from Tom and Jerry, C-3PO from Star Wars, like very specific people. And doing this whole process made me realize that I'm a lot naturally inclined to do clown, because I grew up watching it constantly. And
Right.
funny enough, I'm also really good at Foley and like making sound effects with my mouth, which is something I didn't really realize. Because like
Okay.
you don't do that in a show, right, regularly.
Not all,
So
no, I've never had the chance to do that though.
yeah. So this whole process is just learning things about myself that I don't think I would have been able to just bring to the forefront ever, you know? Um, and also something that was really hard about it as well is just dealing with comedy. I always think comedy is a bit harder than drama, in my opinion, because like
Right.
you instantly can tell if something's not working, if they're laughing or not.
Right.
And doing that in the moment and then you don't hear the laughs, or like you're not trying to get a laugh, but there's a part that's usually funny. It's like, how do I balance all of that while still being a clown in these
Right.
situations?
Very good. So Mia, same thing. Tell us a little bit.
Yeah, so hi, I'm Mia. I was born and raised in Israel, and I moved here 3 years ago to study at the American Academy of Dramatic Arts. Yeah, I mean, also when I was told I was going to be in this project, I was like, what? I mean, I think I've done theater most of my life, and I'd had a lot of different teachers tell me that I'm not a comedy actor, that, I'm meant to do dramas and whatever. And I I'd only had one experience with clown before that when I was like 16, and it did not go well. So I was really nervous going into this. But yeah, I mean, I really think that what happened was just like these parts of myself that had always existed but I'd kind of worked on maybe shoving them down or like hiding them from people. The moment I would put on a clown nose, there was no hiding it. Like they just came out in full force. And yeah, I mean, so my character, Colonel Meowski, not actually a colonel, that's just her name. She's, you know, very in charge, very authoritative, a little bit combative. And I think that I served in the military for 2 years in the IDF. And so that kind of, I think, just lives in me, and I feel very comfortable taking that type of space. And then the other part of her is that she's so easily infatuated. And when I was in middle school, I'd asked every single boy in my class to be my boyfriend. And so
that's your character too?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So I think, you know, I'd been made fun of it a lot. So suddenly to have that come out, and like, she so immediately falls in love, and so she's so serious about it, you know, like she really is in love and she'll do anything for it. And so having those two parts of myself that I wasn't necessarily comfortable with, or had been told by society that I shouldn't be that way, or that it's not right, you know, putting that on stage and having people laugh at that and like it was like just an insane experience. And so I think that's what really drew me to do this project again.
Like a bit like a almost like validation of
Yeah, and I think it just made me fall in love with clown, because it had challenged me in a way that I hadn't been challenged before in life. Like, it really requires this amount of vulnerability that I personally have not experienced before. Like, it just requires you to be so in the moment, so honest, and really allow people to see you, which is so terrifying. And so I want to do it again.
Very excellent. So Fernando, tell us about your character, everything.
Hi, I'm Fernando, born in Tucson, Arizona, raised in Mexico my whole life. I play two characters. One is Cliff, and the other one is Nuki. I'll start with Cliff. When we started this process, I was very much in a debate with myself, like, oh, I've always been pigeonholed into being a funny actor. And it was like, oh, I don't want to be in the clown show because I'm an actor, you know? So when Michael and I started working on my clown, on Cliff, it started moving through a lot of phases. Because my idea was to make fun of people in charge, make fun of people in authority. It was a priest, it was a teacher, ended up being Cliff, ended up being an actor who wasn't a good actor, so he became the second best thing, a politician. And he's the and he's the town manager of Danvers, Massachusetts. And this whole idea of like, he doesn't know what he's doing, but he's so confident, and he's so like centered, and oh yeah, look at me, I'm the town manager, and he's just an idiot. And it was just finding that like idea within myself of like, oh, I'm not a Kirk Douglas or James Cagney, I'm more of a Steve Martin. Right. So it was like, oh, okay, like me, Fernando, like, okay, I'll accept, like, I'm a comedic and a dramatic actor, but Cliff doesn't know that. Cliff is just, oh yeah, I'm handsome, I'm an actor, and I'm a politician. And no, shut up, you idiot. He's like, shut up, Cliff. No. And then Nuki is a talking nuclear missile who only like basically talks. He's either a TV performer, a show host, or he only talks in movie and TV quotes. Because also, like, when we started working on it, on this mascot, on this villain of the show in some sort of way, it was like, okay, now let's turn Fernando to an 11. If I like to quote movies, Nuki only talks in movies, and he lives in this world where he's seen every movie. He's seen every movie that's gonna come out. He's seen every movie that has come out. He's seen every movie that's on TV, on the movie theaters, wherever. So it's like this vast knowledge of a spirit that lives in this pop culture world, humanity's gap. And when we started talking about the nuke, it was like, what are we gonna do? How are we gonna do it? How is it gonna come to? And it just became, it was just a nuke. It was just the whole suit, the whole costume. It was when I put on the nose, like everyone has to say, like as soon as you put on the nose, it's, oh, okay, I get it. But you take it off and it's like, what did I do? What did we do? What was that? So becoming Nuki, getting that nuke suit a day before we opened the show, it was like, oh yeah, this is it. This is what I'm supposed to be. So really having fun with discovering what clown and who you are as your clown.
Excellent. Like, let me talk now to Peter, the one man who's actually admittedly has a clown experience. I have to say, I learned a long time ago, somebody came at this workshop and showed us how to eat fire. Do you do that too, or no? That's a different type of thing.
Yeah, no, I've never eaten fire.
It tastes gross when you got to put that thing out in your mouth. Yeah, trust me, don't.
Yeah, no, I've never, I think I thought about it a little bit as a child, and then I was like, you know what? I'm not gonna go the fire eating route. Yeah.
So tell us about your character, and I mean, were people talking to you as well, like share your expertise as a clown to help us out, or were you did you feel like at home, or did you feel like whatever?
Yeah, I felt at home. I think I felt a lot more at home. I felt very at home. I mean, because also mime is it's an alternative theater world, and the kind of mime we were doing was devised. We were all making our own work. It was very much about rebelling against the idea of having a playwright, the authority of a playwright, and giving that capacity and agency back to the actor, so that the actor becomes the creator. Not just sort of an instrument for the playwright and for like whatever the other authority figures are, which I think is very much, I think, what excites a lot of us about coming out of school and being in the world where a lot of us feel like we may have to wait for other people to okay us and to say, it's okay for you to have this role. We will allow you to, act. But we can create our own work. And I think that that's something that I came into this production already feeling. And also because I had an improv background, the stress that I think some of us may have felt like in creating a work before actually performing it, and having to fully create a work within 4 weeks, and then having a script after 4 weeks, and then having just 2 weeks with that completed script before we do the actual show. I think for, that was not something that was a part of the previous 2-year curriculum that we just gone through. So I think that was hard. If I'm sensing the water correctly for some of us, my experience with improv, that was sort of my entry point into theater. I very much come from a place where I'm much more comfortable with making it up. So I was very much, I feel like, living already in a place I was comfortable with. I don't think anybody turned to answer your first question more precisely. I don't think anyone turned to me for like sort of like advice about being a clown. I think specifically with clown, I also was like, I don't know what I'm doing. But yeah.
So
yeah.
No, great. I mean, that's because I was asking you that question because you seem to have this perspective, that other people may not have had, like as a mime. And I didn't, I misquoted you. You said you were more of a mime, not a clown, but yeah. So let me go now to Alexa. I see you on the next on my screen. So tell us about your character, yourself, the show.
My character, myself, and my show. I got it. Okay.
Not in that order. Is that,
Oh,
yeah.
cool. Hi, my name is Alexa Lostaunau. Before going to the American Academy of Dramatic Arts, I had little to none experience in theater. The biggest thing I did was perform at my high school's talent show, doing a dirty dancing dance. It's pretty cool.
Okay. With the bucket and everything, or
The dirty dancing dance, not flash dance.
oh no, oh, okay. Sorry, my '80s references I get mixed up
It's
because I'm
okay.
old.
I got
Yeah.
lifted. I got lifted for real. It's a nice video.
Dirty did, yeah, yeah. Okay. So, I stand corrected. Yes.
Yeah, and I mean, I've always had a passion for acting ever since I watched, ever since I fully understood movies at the age of 13, which was a Marvel movie. That's when I first got into acting and loving that just whatever that is, the beauty of that. And then my character is so hard to initially understand in my perspective, as the person being that character, just because Clown, like everyone else has said, Clown has been so vulnerable, and going into that was such it's really just it's basically the most embarrassing version of yourself, and having yourself be seen and laughed at and you be okay with it. And it's like things that you didn't notice. And part of it was my height, the height of Ballsy. I'm short, I'm 5'1", and sometimes my character stands next to the taller characters, and that gets a laugh. And for me, I'm like, I don't see that I'm short, obviously. I'm just like, what are you guys laughing at? And then another part of my character is that they're very blunt, / they don't say much, and they do this in order to show that they don't care. And because Alexa likes to joke around to show that she's not serious or doesn't care about being serious, so my character is always serious but doesn't show how much they care. And Ballsy, I like the name. The first name was Boston, and then I don't know, Ballsy just came from when a name that a singing teacher said to me once, because I sang Don't Rain on My Parade, not really practiced, and I just did it, and he was like, oh, okay, you're Ballsy. And I was like, wow, I've never been called that, but I was like, yeah, I am.
And then so many years later, I'll just call my character that.
Just call me, no, I mean, so many years later, it was like a year before.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. And then the show has been really, really a blessing to be a part of. And I knew I was going to be in this show. I had a feeling it was either this show or another show, but I was like, I see myself as a comedian, and learning Clown was such a different challenge and a different thing to even grasp. And I'm so glad I got to learn it, and I would continue learning it. And yeah, what a hard art it is, really.
Yes, and I have to say, I like comedy. I like doing comedy, but it's not the same, and I like when I was in high school, whatever, like the class clown, but that's completely different. As you said, there's a lot of vulnerability in showing yourself as your goofiest and getting rid of your last bit of dignity to on stage. That is just to perform and do the part, bring that character to life the way it should be. So yeah, you have to be brave. I never clowned, and I don't see it in my near future, but kudos to you guys. And yeah, and last but not least, I have Eva. Is that right? Did I get everybody, or am I missing? I'm scrolling here. There's Eva. There you go.
I go by Evie. I forgot to change
Evie.
it.
Oh, okay.
But Anne after my grandma, but I'm always called Evie.
Okay, Evie.
All right.
Same drill. Your character, tell us whatever's on your mind about the show, and your part and everything.
Yes. I'm Evie McIntosh, born and raised in Long Island, New York, and my clown flip definitely heightens my Long Island accent.
Okay.
Yeah, a lot. It's really interesting to go back and forth to the Long Island accent to like a Russian accent. That's a lot of fun to do, but also could be a challenge, but it's just a lot of fun to play with. Anyways, Flip is very smiley and such like a cute little weirdo, which is very me in real life. I feel like I am always my clown. It just comes in heightened, just random times. I mean, even right now we were talking and I'm just like, it's like you guys were talking about eating fire, and I was like, oh yeah, as a kid, I've eaten a glow stick once. And it's like that's my clown in her own world and stuff like that. But she also has a secret side to her that is hinted every once in a while in the play, but it's very vague. I feel like that was kind of hard for me to balance out like her innocent like personality versus like she has a crazy past and stuff like that, which I do in real life. So I guess just refinding that was a lot of fun. Yeah, I don't know what else.
No, that's great. And I'm curious. Back to Michael. I'm assuming you cast the show, right? Or did you have were the producers casting too, or?
It's an unusual process because we start with no script, and the story itself comes out of the characters that they create.
So that's what I was I was trying to get at. So what were you looking for in the actors? I would say, well, this person, I cast them for this part or whatever.
Sure. I mean, what I'm really interested in terms of, as a director, I'm interested in people who want to play, who play really hard. Every one of the scenes itself is developed around a game, and it's a very different way of creating a script, and that each scene at its heart has a game that the actors are playing. And so it can seem very improvisational in its when in the audience and when they're really cooking. In fact, they're playing a game in a really strict form in each scene. And so the story itself came from their clowns interacting with these different concepts that we were bringing in and seeing what would happen to, Flip, if this provocation was brought in, or to Joaquin when nobody's remembering his name, and things like that in the story came out of all of their clowns playing and interacting together, and then us being real deep listeners as well, and catching those moments, and seeing what happens when you put them together.
Very cool. So okay, so this is the shameless self-promoting part, which go ahead, tell us where we can catch the show, the remaining dates. When did you guys open, first of all?
Well, we haven't opened yet. We are in.
Oh, okay.
We are in
great. Yeah.
We are just about to head into an unusual rehearsal process where we are in the last few days of our fundraising campaign, and then we head into a short rehearsal process at the beginning of the summer for like a week and a half, and then we take a break where we bring in the designers to actually create the design that works for the show now. Okay. With the hopes of creating something that we can, if we want to bring it someplace else besides New York, that we could. And so the designers would come in during the summer to give them time, as opposed to some of these constrictions of these short rehearsal times, where designers are having to design, a whole show in 2 weeks or less. And so they would have an expansive time during the summer. And at the end of the summer, we come back for another week of rehearsals and then performances at the first 2 weekends in September.
Okay. And where is this going to be?
Well, we are still looking. We are in that place where we're like, we need to find that space that we can afford,
Right.
and the space that is going to be conducive to this kind of show, because it's not a traditional show in that, you know, it's not going to work in a proscenium theater, you know.
Right.
And so we are really taking the time, because we have some time before the fall to find the right space for us and for our budget. We have lots of spaces that we're looking at throughout Brooklyn and Manhattan.
Very good. So, well, I hope you guys will come back before you open, or, you know, come say hi and tell us, you know, send us some information that we could post or link to. Definitely, we're gonna link on the show to all the information of the show, whatever you guys have available. I was talking, and Julia was talking to, with JM, and he you know, he made us aware of this show, and it sounded really, really interesting. I right now, I'm still, my head is spinning from learning about all these characters and what the show is about. I had really when I went into this, I had no idea. I thought this was gonna be like a straight up show about, you know, war in the Cold War or something. And now I'm like, wow, this is gonna be quite an experience.
I mean, that's
wait till you watch it.
Yeah. That's what we really
I need
discovered.
to come, yeah.
I think that's where we really discovered with this particular show is there's a lot of anti-war movies out there that are based in the structure and form of drama. And and the kind of feeling that at least I walk out of those shows is there's a part of me that's actually gets drawn in those structures to those worlds. Whereas what the interesting part about this show for me is when I'm watching it, and I've watched it a few times now, that the comedy actually allows the disturbing parts of what we're talking about to be even more effective, I think. The amount of close calls that we talk about that happen that we just don't even know about.
Exactly.
Yeah. And so that's the interesting part that I get really curious about, that these guys have found, is through the comedy. I mean, just like Dr. Strangelove, of saying, hey, let's take a look at this.
But that's the thing about comedy. You can say the uncomfortable part, and if it's wrapped up in comedy, it's not going to go down so hard as, you know, really discussing the realities of something horrible, right? Or uncomfortable. So yeah.
I mean, the fact that our nuclear policy is mad, is mutually assured destruction, and that people think that this is a great way of living, is like, wow, that is the epitome of ridiculous, you know?
Yeah. It is. So, all right. So the show is Mad, Mad, Mad. We're gonna link whatever we have to you guys, and if there's any like, do you have a website or somewhere we can, you know, people can go and maybe learn about the show, and in the future keep up with where it's gonna be presented or whatever?
Yes, we have an Instagram right now.
Okay.
At Mad Official. And
very good.
You can find all the links there to our fundraiser, to any new and future information. And yeah, so excited, and thank you.
Very cool. No, thank you guys. Yes, we're going to link to that when this show is going to be, you know, uploaded. And we're going to link everything because you guys deserve it. This sounds like an awesome project. Now I'm curious. Like, I have to see it. You know, after I met you guys, I have to, and I heard about it. So thank you so much for being here. This has been another installment of It's Gonna Get Artsy, without Julia, but with me. And the cast of Mad, Mad, Mad. You met them all. They're excellent. The show sounds excellent. And, you know, signing off. Thank you guys. Take care.